Well, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome. Those of you in this very room, great to see you all. Those of you on Zoom, great to see you all. Thank you all so much for being here. And happy Sunday, and happy first Sunday in October. So this morning we're going to do two things that we don't do a lot. The first one is to talk about the M word being money. And the second one is using the Bible. Don't do that very often, but we're going to do that this morning. So we're going to talk about the M word being money and swimming in the infinite ocean. And we can talk about the universe is abundant, the universe is infinite, and we can talk about all those things, and we can quote Ernest Holmes, and we can do all of that. But what I want to do this morning is talk about what we really feel about money. Because we can be here together and we can talk about this and we can agree that the world is abundant and nature is abundant and the universe is abundant, and that's really lovely. And then we're going to go home and worry about how we're going to pay the rent. And so what I want to do for us this morning is to think about what we think about and think about what we feel and see if we're ready to expand our consciousness and to recognize the truth about money, and if we need to and if we're ready to change what we believe about it. So what were we taught about money? So much of it comes from the Bible. Money is the root of all evil. Does it really say that? No. You know, the Bible is fun because they're about fun, because there are about 15 or more translations of the Bible. And many translations say different things about a variety of things, not the least of which being money. So in 1 Timothy 6, verse 10, this is the Lamsa Aramaic translation because the language that Jesus spoke was Aramaic. And so this was translated from the language that Jesus spoke. And so it is believed that this is the closest to what was actually said and actually believed, rather than however many translations and goofiness down the road. So 1 Timothy... I beg your pardon? Is that right? They speak Aramaic. Oh, interesting. Thank you for that. I did not realize that. So 1 Timothy 6, verse 10, for the love of money is the root of all evil. Well, that's a whole different thing. Well, that's kind of a different, so maybe it's okay for me to have money as long as that's not my only motivator to do what I do. Wow, that's interesting. The wealthy man in the eye of a needle, Matthew 19, verse 24. And this, so this was Jesus. Truly I say to you, it is difficult for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And I say to you, it is easier for a rope to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Now, keeping in mind that when Jesus was talking about rich, he's talking about people that focus their entire life on getting money and walking over other people to get rich and to stay rich. So it has nothing to do with those of us that are comfortable in our finances. It is that absolute focus on just getting and keeping money. The virtue of hard work. Ever were you taught that anything worth having is worth working for? And so we work for that, and we work for that. And no, that came too easily, so we don't allow Spirit to bring us unexpected income or expanded income because no, thanks, but we got to work for it. Really? Or do we allow that gift, that unexpected tax refund, that whatever it is, do we allow that, and can we say yes, thank you, and more please? The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Matthew 25, verse 29. For to him who has, it shall be given, and it shall increase to him. But he who has not, even that which he has shall be taken away from him. Do we believe that somehow the rich get richer and the poor get poorer? Or do we recognize that that's consciousness? That's all Jesus was talking about, was consciousness. Yes, because whatever we focus on expands. So if we're feeling lack and struggle, we get more lack and struggle. If we're feeling lavish, abundant, and joyful and all the rest of that, then that becomes our experience. So it's all consciousness. But how many of these sayings do we carry with us? Somehow there is not enough, and I am not enough. Did we get enough sleep last night? Did we have enough coffee this morning? No. Is there enough time, right? Is there enough time today to do what we need to do? Is there enough? Am I enough? How much time do we spend thinking about enoughness? And I don't know if that's a word or not, but I used it, so it's a word now. Or not enoughness. Because it's all connected. If we're not enough and we don't have enough and we didn't get enough, then we see that lack and struggle in so many different areas of our lives as compared to, yes, there is, and I am, and I did enough, which is a whole separate Sunday morning conversation that we won't go into. Do we believe that there's only so much to go around? No, I can't ask for that because that's too much, because if I ask for that and get that, then somehow somebody else is not going to get whatever it was. It's not pie. You might have seen that that advertising campaign talking about, I think it's talking about human rights and that sort of thing. But it's not pie. It really is an infinite universe, and there really is, and we'll talk more about this, there is some way for Spirit to bring us whatever it is we've asked for. Because if I get my good, I'm not taking anything away from you, because there's my good by right of consciousness, and there's your good by right of consciousness, and again, it's not pie. And we'll talk more about that. And then what about those people? What about those people that live in Rancho Santa Fe? What about those people that drive Teslas or Rolls Royces or Mercedes or whatever? What's the deal with them? What's the deal with them? Is it okay? What about those people that win the lottery? What about those people? Do we have resentment? Do we have resentment that because they won, I didn't win? Or do we have gratitude for them, recognizing if they did it, I can do it too, because it's the same infinite ocean that I'm dipping my teaspoon or cup measure or 55-gallon drum. You know, there's that talk as well. When we go to the falls, when we go to the ocean of abundance, what are we going to carry our abundance with us? Is it the teaspoon? Is it the 1 cup measure? Is it the 55-gallon drum? Is it the oil tanker? What is it that we're taking to get our abundance? Because it all has to do with what we believe about it. Because we're all using the same power. So what's your story about money? And if you made it into a movie, would it be Gone with the Wind, The Agony and the Ecstasy, To Have and Have Not, It's a Mad, 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 Mad World? Because I don't know about you, but I grew up with the belief that money was the roller coaster ride. And so we've got money and everything is wonderful, and then something happens. And you go back down the roller coaster, and then you up the roller coaster, and you go down the roller coaster. Bad things come in threes, right? we grew up, it was the washing machine croaked, and then the refrigerator, something happened to the refrigerator, and then the transmission fell out of the car. And I grew up, and that was our experience. Was it our experience because we believed it, or did we believe it because it was our experience? So which came first? Well, what I know is it was our belief, and so that became our experience. And it happened again and again and again, and of course it does. And so you believe that, and you're proving your belief, except that because the universe has no choice. But so Spirit, as we know, Spirit doesn't say, no, this is ridiculous. You don't have to go through this. The universe says, okay, well, if that's, the universe always says yes. And either the yes is ridiculous, luscious financial abundance, or lack and struggle. Always says yes. Always says yes. So the question for us today, or is our money story, It's a Wonderful Life. Because the good news is, as we recognize our story, if it doesn't light us up, if it doesn't make our tails wag, if it doesn't support us in what we came here to do, we can change our story. And again, life always says yes. Yes. So my question for us, what do we feel? Not what Ernest Holmes says we should feel, not what our ministers or practitioners say we should feel, not what our families said we should feel, but what do we feel about money? And does this topic make you want to get up and run screaming out the door? And thanks to all of you for not doing that. But the point is, if what we can't be with, and quoting Debbie Ford, what we can't be with won't let us be. If we can't be with this and recognize that if it's not serving us, there's a way for us to change it so that it does. Because we didn't just come here to pay bills and die. We came here to express and experience all the good that life has for us, and we can't do that if we're worried about our finances every month. So do we feel gratitude and joy and wonder and possibility? Or do we feel anger, fear? Because if you were with me at Costco yesterday, you know that it was the first of the month. And note to self, don't go to Costco on the first of the month. But I just blended in with 500 of my closest friends, and we just did what we did, and it was all right. But it's the first of the month, and we have bills to pay the first of the month. And are we lavishly abundant in writing those checks or going online and doing our thing and saying, thank you, God, and yes, thank you, and more, please? Or are we still trying to figure out how to pay this bill and how to pay this bill? Because we don't have to. We don't have to. If Spirit is in all, everywhere and in all things, Spirit also is in and as our money. And so if it's not working for us, we can look at what we believe about it and begin to change it and make that difference in our lives. You might remember in the Old Testament in Job says, the thing that I have feared the most has come upon me. Job did not have an easy time of it. You might remember the story and just family and all of that. Fear is one of our most powerful emotions, as you know, and if we have fear about our money, the universe has no choice but to bring us more things to be afraid of related to the car and the house and the appliances and our health and our relationships and all the rest of that. So what do we really feel about our money? So some questions for us to think about. We live in an orderly, you would agree with me that we live in an orderly universe, that the sun rises and sets and does what it does, the tides do what they do, the seasons and all the rest of that. So the world around us is orderly. How about the world, our immediate world? How's the clutter in my house? I got to do something with that Peloton machine. Because that's in the category now under clutter. How's your, if you have an office, how's your office? How's your dining room table? How's your checkbook? For those of us that still keep the checkbook, do we know at any moment, do we know how much money we have, or is it crammed with receipts and stuff? Was talking with somebody, I forget who it was. Oh, my beloved, about the English language, and what is that thing that women carry? Is it a purse? Is it a pocketbook? Is it a handbag? Thank you. Is it so whatever that thing is, or the wallet that the men in this room and on our Zoom call carry? How do we have receipts from 6 months ago just crammed in there, or is it orderly for us? It's an interesting question. How's your car? I am committed, because I have a new car, and I am committed that there's not going to be any trash, any stuff. So that's the motivation. I still have the other car because it's not quite off lease yet. The other car is a different situation, but the new car, I'm sorry? Is that one filled with trash? No, it's not filled, but there's stuff. Yes, yeah. So, but we live in an orderly universe. It's got to be. Well, wait a minute. It's got to be in here somewhere. You know, those of you that are old enough, because I'm not sure if I am or not, but remember Fibber McGee's Closet? There was that radio show that they opened the door and go crash, and all of that stuff from the living room or the entryway closet or wherever that closet was. Do we have that stuff, or do we live in a more orderly situation? Our money can respond to that. It's an interesting question. Clutter, like we talked about. How are our relationships? Promises that didn't quite get kept, apologies that need to be made but just haven't yet, forgiveness that needs to be done. Because what I know is that all of this works together. All of this flows together. So we could have, and thinking of Edwin Gaines' book, The Four Spiritual Laws of Prosperity, she talks about all of these things. So this abundant, lavish, wonderful life is abundant and lavish and wonderful when we have these wonderful relationships with one another, and we forgive as we need to and apologize as we need to. When we deal with and handle our money in an orderly way. When we have work that is wonderful, and whether work is getting up and going to the dining room table and painting, or going out to the garden, or getting up and going to an office, all of these things come together, and relationships with people that we want to spend time with, and oh, by the way, want to spend time with us. So you could have all the money in the world, but if there's nobody there to join you in spending it, it's not going to be as joyful as having somebody there. So the relationships as well. Integrity in our finances. Are the taxes filed? If you extended, you have till October 15th, 13 more days and a wake up, and then it's time to file those taxes and the property taxes and all the rest of that. Do we loan money? Do we loan right? If you've ever had that situation, and there's two schools of thought, but so I don't know about your experience, but mine has been loaning someone money can be really difficult because at least 51% of the time there's stuff. And it might ruin the relationship, or, well, you said you were going to pay me $10 a month every month and you didn't, or just whatever. And so we get to decide, is it going to ruin the relationship? And if we can give it away, just give it and wish them well rather than trying to fuss and fight. Is there balance in our being? Do we get enough sleep? Do we take time for ourselves? Do we sit and meditate and watch 2.5 Men and go for a walk with the dog and do those things that light us up. All of these things are important to this thing called life and are all connected. And then do we do what lights us up or makes our tail wag? And if not, how could I change that? How can I either change my belief about it or my view of it or find something else? How about, and this is Alan Cohen's expression about happy money. In one of his books, he talks about being at a workshop and there's no refunds. And this woman comes to him after the first day of the workshop or to his assistant, and she says, this just wasn't what I wanted and I would like to have my money back. And the assistant says, really sorry, this didn't do it for you, but we don't offer refunds. And he was within earshot and he said, no, I just want happy money. Sometimes we need to stand up for ourselves and get the refund or get whatever it is that's due us and we're entitled to. And sometimes we can say, it's all right. It's all right, because there will be something come into our lives that will replace whatever that was, because happy money feels so much better. Neville Goddard was one of the early New Thought writers, and he talked a lot about feeling. And it's important for us to know, to believe what we believe and to know what we believe, but he also talked about feeling. And in the Neville Reader, he wrote, think feelingly only of the state you desire to realize, feeling the reality of the state sought and living and acting on that conviction is the way of all seeming miracles. All changes of expression are brought about through a change of feeling. A change of feeling is a change of destiny. All creation occurs in the domain of the subconscious. Chance or accident is not responsible for the things that happen to you, nor is predestined fate the author of your fortune or misfortune. The subconscious is not concerned with the truth or falsity of your feeling. It always accepts as true what you believe to be true. You must assume the feeling that would be yours had you already realized your wish. So what can we do this afternoon to feel wealthy? To me, it's eating outside. And it's funny when I go to a conference, because the people that come, especially the people that come from the Northeast, my experience has been, are the ones that eat outside. Those of us from the West are in with the air conditioning. The people from the Northeast, because they can only eat outside a certain part of the year, and then, of course, you're going to get snow in your mashed potatoes. So they can't be eaten outside. But the people from, did you notice that? Yeah, the people from Pennsylvania and New York and those kind, and North Carolina and those kind of places tend to eat outside. But to me, eating outside or even just having a coffee, it's just, and I have 2 patios in my house. I don't know why I don't do it more, but I just don't. But that's, to me, that feels wealthy. But whatever it is, what could you do this afternoon to make you feel abundant and prosperous? So is it okay for us to talk about this? Is it okay for us to think about this? We're not stuck. We might feel like we are, but we're really not stuck. And if we really do live in an infinite universe, which we do, there's always the opportunity for us to say, what do I believe about this, and what can I change about my beliefs in order to experience this greater financial wealth? And are we good receivers? If we went to lunch, how much time would we spend fighting over who's going to pay the check? 0. So if I reached and got it and said, well, right, so, yes, exactly. But if I reached reached for it and picked it up, would that be okay? Sure. Okay. But seriously, do we allow ourselves to receive? Or no, well, at least let me pay for my part. Or do we say, thank you? Do we allow other people to give to us? And if we don't allow other people to give to us, how can we allow the universe to give to us? Yes. Thank you. Yes, so yes, again, it's that yes, thank you, and more please thing. So I have to tell you, Edwin Gaines, who you've heard me quote before, she wrote The Four Spiritual Laws of Prosperity. She came from basically not having two dimes to rub together and found unity and found our teaching and wrote this book and is just amazing. And for years owned a retreat center outside of Fort Payne, Alabama. She sold the retreat center, and you've heard me talk about her and about my experience walking on fire with her. Amazing experience. And so she's early 80s, I think. And so she recently sold the retreat center and moved to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where her daughter and son-in-law live. And she is doing one more retreat or workshop at the Unity Church in Baton Rouge weekend after next. So I will be there with her one more time. I am so excited, I can't tell you. Thank you. I'm just incredibly excited. But she talks in the book, she writes, our challenge and our goal is not to try to fight and manipulate a universe that wants to withhold our good. Instead, it is to accept that the good is here and to give ourselves permission to receive it. So often this goes back to, what do we believe about God? What do we believe about our source? Is it limited? Is it giving to us based on what we deserve? And do we deserve whatever it is? Or do we still have that old concept of the cranky, hateful, surly, white, straight old man up on a cloud someplace that doles out the good based on the mood he's in? And I know that sounds kind of funny, but it's important for us to recognize, however long you've been in this teaching, whether it's been 2 months or 20, 30 years, what do we believe about God? And are our prayers, is our spiritual mind treatment, our affirmative prayer, answered when we do it? Or is there some filter that it goes through based on our deservedness? What do we say about our money? You know, these petroleum companies and these politicians, and I can't believe I just spent however much it was at the gas station. Of course, some of us don't go to the gas station anymore, but that's a separate story. What do we believe? So what do we say about our money and our expenses, and how much do we complain about it, and how much do we put it on Facebook, and how much do we yamma about it? And does our money want to hang out with us? Because if you're always complaining about me, I'm not going to want to hang out with you. What do we say about our money? What do we say about our money? Interesting. So watch your mouth. Watch my mouth. Because we didn't just come here to pay bills and die. We came here to express and experience all the good that life has for us, and life will continue to send us greater and greater good unless we tell it not to. And consciously or unconsciously, sometimes we're telling it not to. No, that's okay. That's enough. And it may be, but if it's not, or you're ready to step into that greater good, there is an opportunity for us to do that. So last thing, and this is really interesting. One of our speakers at the conference was Milagros Phillips. Amazing amazing speaker. She talks about, and she does a lot of work with healing racism. And she's written 4 or 5 books, and she talked about the shame and the experience of slavery in someone's DNA. Because even if you didn't experience it, even if you didn't experience slavery, but your parents did or your family members did, and then you were born, is that in your DNA? If your father or grandfather or mother or grandmother was in one of the internment camps for the Japanese, does that come into the ancestors or in the new generation's DNA? If our parents or grandparents, and this is my question, if our parents or grandparents experience the Depression and the fear and the, oh my God, and can you even imagine, because back before there were any kinds of social programs and people were jumping out of buildings and were starving to death on the streets, did we inherit that fear of money in our DNA? I don't know. But it's an interesting question. And so the question for us then is, because sometimes I don't know about you, but I don't know what I believe. Ever had that experience that where in the heck did that come from? Yeah. So the opportunity for us is to recognize, I'm not sure where it came from, it doesn't matter, but what I can do is begin to look at it, feel it, and heal it. So what do I say about it? Do I say I'm on a fixed income? Do we ever use those words? Quoting Edwin Gaines, if you were on a fixed income, who fixed it? Or do we allow ourselves to recognize, oh, I had that thought, cancel that, tain't so, and begin to say yes to this greater financial abundance? Because it's there for us, we just need to accept it. Recognizing that it might come through our work, through our investment account, through our monthly deposits, through our friends and relatives, but it comes from this unlimited universe. And because it does, because it is unlimited in the ways that it can bring our good to us when we allow it. So with that in mind, join me in the light for just a minute. So in the peace and the quiet of this moment, we allow ourselves to be reminded of our oneness with the God presence, with one another, and with all of life. And in this moment, we recognize the richness that is in this very room. The comfy chair beneath our bottoms, and whatever room you're in, the richness that is there. The comfy chair beneath your bottom, the sturdy floor beneath your feet, the cool and comfortable air around you. We recognize this richness. And so moving forward, we choose to come from this place of gratitude for what we have and possibility for what is ours to express and experience. We really do know and accept that the universe is abundant, that life always says yes to us. And so we release and we work to release any thoughts of fixed income, any thoughts of resentment or regret, anything unlike love, and allow this love, being our abundance in every area of our lives, to flow. And we step into this newness and this new possibility, and we say, yes, thank you, and more please. So for this beloved spiritual community, for being home and being at home, for our time together, we give great thanks. And together we say, and so it is.